Okay, we're on.
Okay, so welcome everybody to this month's episode of our Puppy Blogs Ask Me Anything. My name is Debbie Natz. I'm the Puppy Program Manager for the Northeast region. Behind the camera we have Senior Puppy Manager, National Puppy Program Manager James Dern, and we have Ellen Torp, our Program Director, is here as well. And if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to type them in, and James will relay them to me, and we'll work on getting your questions answered as we go. Today's program that we're working on is going to be about grooming our dogs. So I have one of our dogs that's here in professional training. She's going to be our little demo dog, and she's going to be assisting us today. The first thing that we want to make sure that we do with all of the puppies every single day from the day that you get them at 8 weeks of age is practice cradling. It's a great way for you to have time to bond with the puppy, help them relax, relaxing for you as well. We want to make sure that the puppies are used to having their limbs and their ears and their mouth and everything touched and be open to physical manipulation. We want to make sure that they are examined on a daily basis. We want to be able to look in their ears, make sure that their ears are nice and clean, open their mouth, look at all their teeth, all the way down, touch all of their feet, their paws, in between their toes, make sure that they're okay with that. I'm kind of holding her so she doesn't slide off my table here. Want to make sure that she is comfortable having her belly touched, and that she's comfortable and relaxed like this little girl is.
Hey, Deb.
Yes?
People want to know what the puppy's name is.
We haven't given out the puppy's name. If anybody would like to win a little contest, we have a little bag of goodies here for the first person who can guess who this puppy is. So if you can figure out who this puppy is, the first person that types it in, James will let us know, and they'll win this little prize. So we're not going to give out her name. Okay. So the second thing, in addition to being able to cradle the dog and have them calm and relaxed while you're examining them, we want to make sure that we brush them on a daily basis. And depending on what kind of a puppy you have, whether it's a lab or a golden or a lab golden cross, you may need some different grooming tools. The labs and a lot of the crosses, one of the favorite tools is just a little rubber Zoom broom. Good girl. And the Zoom broom is great because it helps to distribute the oils through their coat. It helps to pull out a lot of the dead hair from the coat. And you can use it on their whole body. It's just a soft rubber brush. And the dogs actually love to be brushed with it. It's also great when you're doing bathing with the puppies. You can use it in the bathtub, in the shower, however you're bathing the dog. And it helps to get the shampoo down into their coat really well. And you can use this on their entire body. If you have a longer haired dog, like the Goldens and some of our crosses, having, the wire pin brushes are great. A lot of our Goldens have the longer hair behind their ears and back here on their feathers, so having a nice comb would be a great idea, being able to comb out to make sure that there are no mats. Definitely behind the ears. With our Goldens, a lot of the time they tend to get mats behind their legs, under their armpits, behind their ears. So we want to check them every day, make sure that there's no mats in their coat and that they don't be prone to getting things like hot spots or infected areas underneath the mats. And one of the other things that's really important is when you're using any of the combs or any of the brushes on the dogs, especially the long-haired dogs, make sure that you're actually getting down to the skin and there's no mat layers underneath the skin. Underneath the coat, so that you're actually getting all the way down to the skin. And she loves her grooming. She's a good girl. Let's have you turn around a little bit. Good girl. One of the things that I like to do after I'm done brushing the dog, it loosens up all the dander, it loosens up a lot of dust. So what I'll do is I'll take a wet terry cloth towel, and I'll just wipe them down with that. And it helps to pick up the dander and the dust in their coat, picks up a lot of the loose hair as well, and it's just a nice way to finish off, their coat. The other thing I like to use a damp towel for is to wash their face, because a lot of the time you don't want to try and brush, especially with the metal brushes, on their face. So it just kind of cleans them up a little bit. It's a good girl. Okay. And then one of the other things that we ask you to do with the puppies on a weekly basis is to make sure that we trim their nails. So that's something that's really important to start when you first get the puppy. At 8 weeks of age, we want to start trimming their nails. Don't let it go more than a week, because the longer they get, the longer the quick grows. If the quick gets very long, you're more likely to trim the nails and actually have them bleed. So if you trim them on a weekly basis and keep the quicks short and just do a quick trim, on the very tips of the nails, it makes it much easier on the dog. We don't have to worry about, quicking the dog and having them bleed. If they do, what we have is Quick Stop, and that's basically just a powder. If the dog's nail is bleeding, you can actually just take a little bit of the powder, put it into the cap, she's melting, and then just apply it to the nail, and just give it a few minutes to stop bleeding. So when we're trimming the nails, she's a very good one with having her nails cut. What we always want to do is, her nails are nice and light. I don't think you can see that on the camera, but her nails are light. You can actually see the quick in her nail. And when you're trimming, hers don't really need to be trimmed because they're very short. You want to take just the very tip of her nail off. Good girl, relax. Good girl. And then go on to the next one. And again, take the next tip off. If you have a dog that is resisting or kind of pulling away a little bit, one of the things that I like to do is do one little clip and then reward her for it. Girl. Yes. And you can actually practice this without even doing the clipping, just by touching the clippers to her nail and then rewarding for that. Yes, good girl. And then touch the next nail and reward. Good girl. And then touch the next nail and then reward. Good girl. In the beginning, you might just want to touch one nail. If you can get her to lay still for you to touch one nail and then release her after that, that could be your mini training session for nail clipping. The next time you do it, you may want to try and touch two nails. And the goal is to get her just to stay relaxed. Touch the nail. Yes, good girl. And reward her for it. And then after you've done that for a few days straight of just touching the nail and rewarding, then you can take the clippers and actually just clip one nail. So we just take the very tip off of the nail. Yes, good girl. And then reward her for that. So your nail trimming in the beginning may be broken up over the course of a few days to get all of her nails done. In the beginning, we want to make sure that she's comfortable and relaxed. Girl. And then, James, you have your hand up.
I'm going to move the camera so that you can see the nail close up.
Okay. Can you see that? And with hers, you can see that the quick ends right about in here. So I don't want to take off too much, but we just want to take off the very tip. That's a good girl. These don't even need to be trimmed. They're nice and short. Our trainers and kennel staff did a great job on her nails. You can see the quick is in here all the way up. I can just barely take the little tip off of it. Good girl. Yes.
Excellent.
And one of the ways that you can tell if your dog's nails are too long is that if they are walking on a hard surface, a wooden floor or a tile floor, and you hear them click, click, clicking all over the place. If you hear that clicking, it's definitely time to trim nails. Okay, good girl. We want to make sure that they are comfortable with the process in the beginning. If you're a little bit nervous about it, you can practice with just holding the paw firmly. for about 15 seconds, and then rewarding for that. And then from there, you can start touching, and then from there, you can start clipping. Good girl. Okay. One of the other things that a lot of puppy raisers use is Dremel, and the Dremel is not required. It is something that we encourage puppy raisers to do if you're comfortable using it, but also keep using the clipper as well. A lot of our graduates will use a Dremel, but not everyone will, so we want to make sure that the pups are always comfortable with nail clipping or the Dremel. Either one is great. Okay. She's a good girl. So now that she's all comfy, I'm going to try and get her to sit up. Good girl. All right, and one of the other things that we ask you to do on a weekly basis is just to make sure that their ears are nice and clean. A lot of puppy raisers have been using an ear cleaner, and what we usually recommend is you get an ear cleaner that's made for dogs from either your vet or from a pet store. If you need to use the ear cleaner, that's fine. But what we would rather do is look in the ears, make sure that they're nice and clean. If the ears are clean, there's really no need to use the cleaner and introduce that liquid into the ear. So what we would do, her ears are beautiful. Let's get you to look up here, baby. Over here. Good girl. I don't know if you can see in her ears, they are beautifully clean. Very nice. And she doesn't mind having her ears touched or manipulated at all, which is great. We can look in there. We can see her tattoo. And no cheating and figuring out who she is from her tattoo. If you do have to use an ear cleaner, what you can do is just take a little piece of cotton or a little square of gauze, put the ear cleaner on the cotton, and use that to wipe the ear flap. Get any wax off of the ear flap, and also just barely push your finger a little bit into the ear canal and get what you can reach up towards the top. We don't want to force the cotton down into her ear, but we do want to get as much of the wax off as we can. If the wax is a dark brown, rusty color, if there's a little bit in there, that's pretty much normal. If you start to see a lot of earwax, if you start to see any kind of discharge, any redness or irritation in her ears, if she's shaking her head a lot, or if she's showing any kinds of discomfort, scratching in her ears, it would be definitely a time to have her ears looked at by the vet. Yes, I know my fingers smell like ear cleaner now. I'm sorry. Okay. And then another thing that we ask the puppy raisers to do on a daily basis is to brush their teeth. So we have little packages of toothpaste that we give out here. And what we do, these little packages come with a little fingertip toothbrush. You can put it on your finger. You can apply the toothpaste to the toothbrush, and then you just lift up the lips, and you use that to get the teeth nice and clean. The other thing you can do is get a toothbrush made for dogs. And this one has two sides, bigger and smaller. You put a little toothpaste on it. And we just want to make sure that we can get this onto all of her teeth. It's an enzymatic toothpaste. So the toothpaste will actually, the enzymes in the toothpaste will actually help break down any tartar and make sure that her teeth stay pearly white, which they are. She's got beautiful teeth. You want to make sure that you get all the way into the back and get all of the back teeth. Make sure that they're nice and clean. Good girl. And she likes her toothpaste. With baby puppies, little guys, sometimes they want to play with the toothbrush more than anything else. But since this is an enzymatic toothpaste, just getting it onto their teeth in the very beginning is a good thing, because the enzymes will help keep her teeth clean and help break down any tartar that's starting to build up. And then as the puppy gets used to it, you can start with the actual brushing. So we would like to do this every day. And we also want to make sure that the toothpaste that we use is something that's made specifically for dogs. We don't want to use human-type toothpaste on the puppies. So this one happens to be, I think it's, I don't know which one it is. We have beef, we have pork, we have chicken. So it's all flavors that the dogs absolutely love. Okay, good girl. And then one of the other things that we want to make sure that we do on a monthly basis is give all the dogs a bath. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, we want to keep them nice and clean. They're going out in public, they're wearing their puppy capes out in public. We want to make sure that their capes are kept in good condition and the puppy capes are clean. We want to make sure that the dogs are clean. Giving them baths on a monthly basis helps to loosen up all of the hair that they're shedding. So it keeps them nice and neat. You don't have clumps of hair everywhere. And it also keeps them smelling nice. We want to make sure that anytime that we give them baths, we're using the same kind of dog shampoo, not a people shampoo. Something that doesn't have a lot of scent to it is better. This one happens to be a hypoallergenic shampoo, fragrance-free. But there's all different kinds at the pet stores. We just want to make sure that we have a dog type shampoo because they're pH balanced for their skin and their coats rather than what we use for people. Good girl. And then in between, if you have to do little cleanups, you can use baby wipes. You can use, again, a damp towel. Just take a towel, dampen it, and then just give a real good scrub down. If you take the puppies to swim at the beach, in salt water especially, we want to make sure that we get all of that out of the coat afterwards so that they don't get itchy and dry skin from it. And let's see, make sure I get everything on my list. So again, one of the things that you want to do while you're doing any kind of bathing and grooming is look for anything in their coats that may be causing them problems, burrs, fleas, ticks, anything like that. We want to also be able to catch problems that are minor before they get to the point where they're a big deal. So if you see a little bit of redness in her ears, definitely keep an eye on it. Get her to the vet if you think that it is turning into an ear infection. Scratches, burrs in her coat, anything that could be irritating her. The goal is to try and get it taken care of before it gets bad. And again, doing all of this grooming helps to bond with your puppy. She's a good girl. Enjoy each other's company and just have fun with her. So we appreciate everything that you guys do as puppy raisers. And
we have some questions.
Okay, what's our first question?
Okay.
Is it a name?
Well, we do have a winner for the naming contest.
Ah, cool. Okay.
For the name contest.
Yeah.
And it's Anthony. I don't have any other information other than his first name. So Anthony, if you want to add a little more information about who you are in the chat, I'd be happy to contact you. The first question that we have is, can we use Q-tips to clean the ears?
If you need them, but it's better to not try and go all the way down into the ear canal if you can help it. Just using your finger with a piece of cotton, you can actually get in pretty far, so we want to make sure that we're not jamming anything down in there that could hurt the dog. If you're really careful with it, it probably isn't a big deal, but we just want to make sure we're not irritating the ear. So if the dog's ears are relatively clean and you don't see any kind of wax or buildup in there, then it would just be a matter of looking at them and you don't even have to clean them. She's ready for a nap.
And let's see, there's a question about a circular toothbrush. Have you seen a circular toothbrush that dogs can bite on and brush their teeth at the same time?
I've never seen them.
I haven't seen them either.
Is it the kind of thing that the toothpaste goes on it and they just chew on it?
Sounds like yes.
Yeah, I think probably we want to make sure that we're brushing the teeth manually with the toothbrush because that way we're sure that we're getting all of the teeth. If they're chewing and they're only using the molars, then you may not be able to get all the toothpaste on all of their teeth and make sure all of their teeth are clean. So it probably wouldn't hurt to do it once in a while just kind of as a fun thing for the dog, but probably better off doing a regular brushing.
Okay. And there was a question that you may have already answered, but Elizabeth asked, how important is brushing versus just spreading around the enzymes?
Well, the enzymes will help break up any tartar that's on the teeth, but getting the teeth brushed is also very important because it helps to clean off all of the surfaces. It's very important to use a circular motion when you're doing it and make sure that you're getting down to where the gums are, because that's where the tartar will actually start to build up, is right at the gum line. So yeah, it is pretty important. In the beginning with the baby puppies, with the little guys, just getting the enzymes on is a good thing, but as they get a little bit bigger and more used to it, yeah, we definitely would like to brush them.
Okay, and is it better to use a finger toothbrush or one with a handle?
It's kind of your own preference. I personally like the one with the handle because it's easier to manipulate, it's easier to move it, and you don't have to worry about a little baby puppy grabbing it and pulling it off and trying to chew on it. So, you know, these come with the toothpaste that we happen to give out here, but I definitely like the longer handle toothbrush also.
Great.
And again, when you're looking at the toothbrushes, this one happens to be double-sided. I don't know if you can see that. You got a side that's great for the small puppies, and then you have a bigger side that's better for the big guys.
Okay, and what is the best way to dry a dog after bathing in the wintertime or cold weather?
Well, here in the kennel, we have dryers that we use on the dogs. At home, I tend to, depending on the breed, the labs and the crosses, I tend to towel dry them really good and then switch to another towel and towel dry them again. Make sure you can get as much of the water out as possible. I don't like to use a people hair dryer on the dogs because it gets too hot. The dryers that we have here in the kennel are cooler temperatures. They get warm, but they don't get hot. So if you don't have a professional dryer like that, probably just towel dry them really good. Should be good.
And Elizabeth has a question about finding a nail that is longer than the others. How do you find which nail is longer after a trimming? I'm not sure if I'm asking that correctly. Betty, can you maybe clarify?
Well, when I trim the nails, I always try and get them to stay about the same length. You want to be just past the edge of the quick on each one of the nails. And if you're doing it on a regular basis, they're probably going to wear on pretty close to the same, the same time. The only one that you have to make sure, and I forgot to mention that before, is the dew claw. You want to make sure that you get the dew claw every time also, because that really doesn't touch the ground and it doesn't get worn on pavement and when the dog is playing. But if you're keeping up on the nails, they tend to all be about the same length. If you have one that's a little bit longer than the others, you can always try and trim that one a little tiny bit more, not short enough that you're going to hit the quick, but try and get it to the same length as all of the other ones.
And she's clarified, she said, it is the noise of clicking I was trying to find the culprit nail.
Oh, gotcha, yep. If you're hearing the dog clicking as they're walking, you can kind of watch and see where they're clicking, if it's the front right foot, if it's the back left foot. If you're hearing any clicking, what I usually do is I go and trim all of the nails and make sure that everything is definitely on the shorter side. And I do that on a weekly basis just to make sure they stay nice and short.
A little bit of clicking is always going to be going on too. So a little bit of clicking is probably going to be normal.
Yeah, and it also depends on the shape of the dog's nails. Some dogs' nails tend to grow out further. Some are a little bit more curved. So you have to take that into account also. If they're curved and they're pointing down towards the floor, you may get a little bit more clicking as well. But we want to make sure that they're as short as you can get them without hitting the quick.
Yeah. We have a question here about toe fur. Should the hair between the pads be trimmed flush with the pads?
With most of our crosses and our labs, we really don't trim the pads. You can see on her, she's got a little bit of hair in here. Some of our Goldens tend to get longer hair in between their pads, and sometimes they'll mat in there. So that's another thing that when you're cradling, it's really important to feel their toe in between their toes, make sure there's no burrs. If you think that the dog needs to have it trimmed, you have to do it really carefully. Definitely use a safety scissor. We want to make sure that we don't hurt the puppy and make them fearful of being groomed in the future. Okay, you're out.
Betty says, I like to trim pet hair on rainy weather so they track less water.
Yeah. Yeah. Good girl. You're gonna walk right off the table.
All right. Well, that takes us to the end of our time. Thank you, Debbie, for such a great grooming demonstration, and everybody who participated. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, everybody. And our graduates, thank you for taking care of the dogs and getting them used to being handled and groomed.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.